If you want to see a long-winded script that they should have just given Chat GPT to rewrite, a plot partly anchored on a legal technicality that the writers neither understood nor did a simple Google search on. And this girl again, Devil is a Liar is the movie for you. This movie, which was directed by Moses Inwang and written by Tunde Babalola, is currently streaming on Netflix. Okay, so a while ago, right, some people obviously came together and decided that they wanted to shoot a movie. Well, fair enough. It's even possible that they had an idea of the story that they wanted to shoot. Maybe something on the general themes of love and betrayal. Something, in their mind that nobody had ever seen before. Maybe even a chance to educate the Nigerian audience on some vague points of law or something like that. Brilliant stuff, they would have thought. I assume that there would have been many handshakes and high fives and thumbs up all around the table. A lot of self satisfied smiles and the smell of new Naira notes in their nose as they toasted to this new venture with, I don't know, Chivita and Mott. Now they would have gotten like a film studio together or whatever, however they do these things, and started actually developing the movie Devil is a Liar. According to the scriptwriter, the protagonist is a 39-year-old spinster looking for love and family. Assuming that that's what the actual scriptwriter wrote, I'm going to assume that it's not even a professional scriptwriter that first wrote it. Maybe a teenager somewhere who won a writing competition in his secondary school and therefore fancied himself a hidden talent. Probably a relative of the executive producer. I don't know. But somebody weird definitely wrote the first draft before maybe they gave it to someone else to edit. Because I don't want to believe that somebody actually wrote this from beginning to end. After spending about 5 seconds to think of an actress that would fit the age bracket of the protagonist, they remember that one actress that still had their nudes and they decided to pay her off with a movie role, maybe. They call up Ikpe-Etim and say, "We want you to be the star. You are going to play a 39-year-old woman looking for a child who is then betrayed by her husband, who basically defrauds her for some vague insurance money thingy. They will also remove your womb at some point in this story. In fact, you just be a fool. We choose you because black don't crack and because it's possible that we are all high on crack at this moment. So everything is just very foggy and we don't even remember why it is that we are calling you again." Nse may have replied, "Well, I feel very honored that you guys are calling me and I promise I will release your nudes, but don't you think it's a bit too ambitious and on the nose? I mean, I know I have legs for days, but I'm almost 50 and I can only look 39 if the 39-year-old character has some sort of chronic debilitating illness. Is the character dying from cancer or something?" The producers would have replied, "Oh no, she's a very successful realtor, in fact, worth hundreds of millions, and she even has a big TV and AC in her Lekki shortlet of a house." Now, I imagine that instead, Cautious may have responded with something like, "Oh, and for this hysterectomy thing, you realize I actually lost my real life womb and therefore can't have children, right? Do you not suppose that this movie will make me feel a bit miserable? Or maybe just again that this whole thing is too a bit on the nose?" The producers again would have replied, "Oh, sorry, shh, the line is breaking up. We can't hear you. I will send you the contract later. Bye bye." Now, they would have shot the movie and everyone in the production crew would have high fived themselves for a job well done. I can imagine that the weird misdirection at the beginning of the movie, where Inse is dressed and walking like the bride to her sister's introduction, would have been very funny when it was shot. I may have actually served to convince everybody on location that they were on the cusp of something great. They probably even did an after party and got positively aroused at the thought of all that Netflix streaming money. During the post production, the editor and the director would have seen all the various cuts and decided to just go with the plot line that would make this movie a shocking 2 hours, 20 minutes long. In the editor's mind, this gibberish mishmash that they just cut would be telling a beautiful story of betrayal and tragedy. They would have edited this movie, including this scene where Adobe is being beaten by everybody and nobody. And this one where this prison lesbian is brought down by biting her leg as if she was made of yam porridge. And they would have been proud of themselves because maybe they grew up poor and they can now imagine that this movie will change their lives for the better or something. I don't know. The audio engineer would have started working on this cut, and somehow when he realizes that there is more soundtrack than movie because most of the edited footage is so slow and plodding and nonsensical, he would smile and thank God that he even has a job at all in this Tinubu economy of poverty. So instead of letting the editor know that this movie is not a musical and therefore doesn't need all the soundtrack filled moments where nobody just says anything, He would have just finished rendering it and sent it to the producers and directors, who would have all sat down, watched it with all the stakeholders and financiers and all, and inexplicably found it comprehensible and fit for release on Netflix for us to see. Ha! And see it we have. The damage is already done. What is dead may never die. Devil is a Liar starts out by introducing us to a spinster, Adora, who is in her late 30s, about 39, I think, and she's played by Ikpe-Etim. I hope I am not messing up that name. Adora gleefully celebrates the wedding and engagement of her stepsisters while quietly hoping, well, while pretending not to hope for her own time to come. She later meets and is smitten with Jaye, the guy who styled her sister's wedding. Adora and Jaye go on a walking lunch date where he wants to run some styling ideas for her because he's going to become a personal stylist. But Jaye is not impressed by the AC and the complicated food name, so he takes her to the trenches where they can actually sweat small for their eba and probably wash their own plates because nothing good comes easy, as you know. Their romance quickly gets very well windy, and he proposes to her after letting us know he likes to record himself having sex in the bedroom. Not sure what that whole point was for. And I think they only dated for like, I don't know, 3 months or something. Now, present at the marriage is Jaye's cousin and business partner, a woman who he basically grew up with. She's played by Erica from Big Brother. And I tell you, this is the first time I think I'm seeing Erica in a movie. But honestly, she really creeped me out. I don't know if it's like how the camera frames her or something, but whenever she smiles, I actually get this kind of chill down my spine. I don't know, her eyes were just so beady and her cheekbones just gave that subtle horror, psychotic killer vibes. It was cool, if that's what they were going for. Next on the agenda is kids, but Jaye was more interested in expanding his business so that he can provide for the kids when they eventually have them, even though Adora is rich enough. And this causes, some rancor. Adora decides to invest in Jaye's business so that Jaye can plan towards having kids. And luckily for her, she discovers that she's pregnant soon enough. We can tell from Jaye's face that this was sad news and he did not at all expect it. Well, if you don't want a child, your pull-out game should be legendary or you use protection. Like, why are you surprised that you do things people do to have children and then have children? Despite the strain that this new baby brings to the marriage, Adora soon decides again that they need to have another, which this time Jai was not going along with. But again, too late. Another baby is soon on the way. I don't know, man. Babies don't even ask for permission in this movie. Jai was not having this one at all, and he decides that Adora will have to choose between a new baby and himself. For some reason, Adora is in love with this guy. I honestly, I cannot tell you why, but she capitulates and aborts the pregnancy in order to keep him, against the advice of her friend, played by Caroline Danjuma. I've always heard that she was an actress, and this is the first time I'm actually ever seeing her in anything. She has this weird way of talking, like she's just reading a script as fast as possible without any emotional weight. I don't know. I found it disconcerting. It was like I was listening to the news. I wonder if people generally consider her a good actress. Oh, so I happened to just go online right now, while I was distracted, and I just saw a reel with Caroline Danjuma, one of all those old Nollywood reels that they're always showing on Instagram. So this is actually, I didn't know that she was acting way back then. I don't think I know this face at all. Adora ends up aborting the pregnancy without even the dignity of her husband's presence because he said that he had to work. Not gonna lie, this movie is really tiring to rewatch for this review. There were like so many random things that happened that don't end up meaning anything. Like for instance, the recording of their love making on the phone, the chance meeting of Jaye with this old schoolmate or classmate or anything at this swimming pool. Also, as you may know, especially from watching my reviews from Afame Funa and Fumilayo or Ransom Kuti, I really don't think this lady has any business in front of a camera. During a car argument, because Jai saw Adora gisting with a former toaster in a store, the family gets into an accident, injuring themselves and sadly leading to the death of their child. Now, while recovering in hospital and without even knowing where her husband is, because he never dropped by even though he had been discharged earlier, she discovers that she no longer had any uterus. leading to the realization that her earlier abortion was in fact a hysterectomy. We see some silly scenes when she returns to the hospital where she did the abortion, only to discover that the particular doctor, Bala, had relocated. And the nurse just keeps yammering on and on about how the doctor came into some money and moved abroad. I mean, come on, who asked you, madam? Like, what are you talking about? Jaye is nowhere to be found as she suspects that the abortion turned hysterectomy was his idea, of course. She later then gets an anonymous tip on his location and ended up trying to run him over with her car as he exited the house of the girl that he met at the swimming pool, leading this movie to an unnecessary and convoluted second act where Adora goes to prison for manslaughter because Jaye reportedly later dies in a hospital in India. This was a bit weird. It was like a different movie. Like while all this prison stuff was going on, her house is bogled, her bank accounts are cleared, and her valuables and documents were stolen. Also, the TV and AC are still here. So I wonder what exactly are they showing us now? Also, because they had been trying to avoid a murder charge, Adora had been trying to pay for Jaye's hospital bills, abroad. Now, after they discovered the break-in at the house, she says,
Trust us. Trust us. We opened one for Junior. So
who the hell is Junior? Like, what is she talking about? Their late child is a girl named Ada. Did I miss something? Who is Junior that they did a trust fund for? Anyway, Jaye dies and Ada goes to prison for 6 years. Though in the actual prison itself, they said it's 20 years. So I don't really know. But she comes out after 6 years. I don't know. But anyway, she goes to prison where the other prisoners show her what they are made of by violently assaulting the foam and the air around her. I mean, they could have just simply done more damage by farting in her face. What the hell is this? After being awkwardly encouraged by fellow prisoner Kafi, played by Mercy Aigbe, she begins training, doing a punching bag thing in the prison and is able to take down the main prison bully in public. After which she then compulsively begins smoking for some reason. So that's pretty much everything that we get for the 6 years in prison. Something I have to say here though is that sometimes it looks like someone sneezed on the camera or something because some shots are a bit smudgy every now and then. Almost have like a dreamlike feeling to them, even though nothing dreamy is happening. Okay, so Adora is released and she goes to stay with her younger sister. And the next weird plot point for a recently released prisoner is for her friend to suggest a vacation. What does that even mean? A broke, childless widow just came out of prison after 6 years. She probably needs her family close by to help with her mental health or whatever, but she should go on vacation to do what? It was so silly that I even barely believed it as I was watching it. And the wildest part was that she was sent on vacation to a resort, like a Pine Tropicana, alone. It seems like everybody involved in making this movie shared exactly one brain among themselves. Just imagine that a friend of yours spends many years in prison, and when they come out, the first thing you tell them, like the day they come, like the day you see them, is, guy, let me take you to Obudu Cattle Ranch for a vacation, and then you drive them there and then leave them at the gate and turn back. What? Of course, the whole reason that the writer sent Adora to the resort is so that it will be revealed that instead of being very dead in India, Jaye is very much alive in this resort with his cousin, who is also his wife, I guess, and their children. Now, from the point where Adora sights Jaye, this movie goes on wordlessly for about 11 minutes. Just soundtrack and following Adora trailing Jaye in the resort to see what he's up to. It was infuriating. 10 to 11 full minutes of not a single word. Like, how did the director watch this and give it a thumbs up? This is a 2-hour, 20 minutes movie, for God's sake. We don't need all this. Adora finally shows herself to Jaye, leading him to chase her into some secluded room where they yammer on and on about what could have been. It was crazy. Yeah. Yes. He was intimate and married to his cousin, and they have 2 kids. They've been scamming in South Africa before and escaped from some trouble. They wanted to just use Adora for her money so that they can set themselves up again. Oh, sorry about that. They did not even talk about the hysterectomy thing, And just look at this acting.
Oh, she loves me. She loves me. While she did love her sweet cousin.
Now, before this face-off, Adora had been researching double jeopardy, which is a principle in law that says that you cannot be tried for the same crime twice. She figures that since she had gone to prison for allegedly causing the death of her husband, she could not be tried again if she actually pumps him full of bullets. Now, this makes sense, of course, if you're like a child and you have never read a book in your life, which I think this scriptwriter is, or maybe they fell down the stairs and lost some higher mental functions while writing this script. Because even a Google search could have A Google search would have just let everyone know that the first conviction would simply have been termed like wrongful, but that's it, it has happened. While for the second case, we have an actual dead human being as evidence and the perpetration of a violent crime by a woman who was just released from prison. In fact, it was when I was Googling this particular double jeopardy thing that I realized that there was an actual movie about it, which pretty much sort of follows the same plots like this one. What the clowns who shot the devil is a liar are basically saying is that if I beat up a bully and I go to prison for it, I can pretty much beat him again next week, the next time I see him, without going to prison because it's basically the same crime and I've gone to prison before. It's such a stupid thing to say or to base the entire third act of your movie on. In the ensuing scuffle, Adora kills Jaye and has his kids kidnapped from under their mother's nose. I know the camera is trying to do a point of view here, POV shot here, but Mercy Aigbe is too short for this kind of POV thing to even look believable. There's no way she's looking down on anybody, sorry. In the end, Adora blackmails Erica to return all the money and about 1 billion naira, which is what they had stolen from her, before she returned the kids. She then calls the police on herself. This, my friends, is how Moses Inwang and Tunde Babalola wrote and directed Devil is a Liar. Okay, so let's talk about what we have just seen. First of all, the plot is nonsensical. Like, there's really nothing much I can say again. I'm just totally almost speechless. Aside the fact that it was all over the place and badly edited, I'm a bit underwhelmed that the last act is carried on the back of a point of law that was completely wrong and inappropriate for the story, and somehow nobody picked up on it. Obviously, nobody even WhatsApped the lawyer when shooting this movie. It would have saved them so much. I did not at all. Nah. I did not at all like the audio of this movie. I have a surround system of about 3 speakers, and I get annoyed when only the subwoofer works while the other two that are beside me stand idle. In parts of the movie, the audio was also really weird, like they recorded it afterwards. And in other parts, you see their mouth move, and then you hear very little or no sound at all. I don't know. I didn't like that. That was just for the cinematography, there was really no cinematography to speak of, as it just goes from one scene to another. No particular catchy framing or mood. The acting was okay until Adora entered prison and later went on this inexplicable vacation. It just became weird all of a sudden. Like, but aside that, I really, really liked Ince's energy. I was honestly surprised that she was almost 50 when this movie was shot. She also has the prettiest eyes, and it just added to her charm, especially when she was being wooed by Jaye. She definitely should not have been cast for this role for this age. She is a pretty woman, but sorry, this is way out of her domain. I googled her name initially because I thought the actress looked too old for the role. And I was also sorry to hear about her medical condition, which necessitated the real life hysterectomy. I had only ever vaguely heard that name sometime once or twice, but so the medical thing was a surprise to me. I liked James Gardner's acting. I've seen him twice now since May. I first saw him in The Weekend, which I saw in Paris. I reviewed that. You can check my review for when I went to Paris, part one. And I think he's actually a pretty good actor. Unfortunately, this is the script that he had to work with. Nah. I hope to see him in more things, as a protagonist before he is typecast into being the shifty or silly or bad guy. I know he was in a recent production, a whodunit murder mystery on Netflix too, I think, called The Party. Yeah, that movie. The series was very nicely shot, but I didn't even know how to start to review it because there was a lot of nonsense inside. In general, I would give this movie a 1.5/5 because aside from the script itself, I feel like the filmmakers didn't really care about us. Like, I am hard pressed to find where the movie in this movie is or find where there's like any extra effort in this production. As far as I'm concerned, they just did the bare minimum. You can even hear it in the name, Devil is a Liar, a whole sentence. For what? Meaning what? Sorry guys, I think this video has gotten too long. I always try to do like 13 to 15 minutes video, but I think this one will cross 20 minutes. Sorry about that. Oh well. I will see you on the next one. If you like my videos, I have tons more for you to watch. You can follow me on Instagram at Ekwe Reviews, or on Twitter, Ekwe Reviews too. Thank you. See you on the next one.